Testing 1, 2. I think we are rolling. I just hit the start button. This is the San Carlos Computer Club, and it's me and the ladies this morning.
Count your blessings.
I feel so fortunate.
Every one of us is old enough to be his mother, if not grandmother.
Grandmother for me.
Yeah.
But we are here again, once again, on a Tuesday. This is the second to the last meeting. Next week will be the last meeting
Didn't you
in
say that
person.
a month ago?
I did. I'm still the same date. But yes, next week will be the last in-person meeting for the summer. We will continue to meet virtually online. You guys are welcome to join us if you guys would like to. We continue to do these meetings like this, but we do it from our desks at home.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I've tried to do that with a hotspot in Tucson,
Okay.
and it can't. It won't let me.
You just doesn't give you enough oomph,
I don't know.
you know? The
I
Google
was
Meet.
wondering if there was a setting that I'm missing.
Well, the Google Meet that we use for this, if you've got that installed in your mobile device, then you wouldn't even need the hotspot if you're. And when
In
you
the
say
phone?
hotspot, my mind immediately assumes it's something you've contracted from like a cell carrier, like an talking about, or maybe you're making your phone into a hotspot and
Yeah.
putting it
Sounds
to your computer. So it could be that there just isn't enough oomph in your area, but you could also just run. Yeah.
I lack of.
In which area?
Right.
Truth be known.
What are we talking about? Yeah, it could just be that you just don't have enough data capability
Mhm.
where you're trying to do it.
Okay.
Like it's so easy to do when you're relying on cell. You could just, especially in Alaska, you just go around the corner and all of a sudden you don't have a signal because there's some mountain in the way
Yeah.
blocking that signal, or a skyscraper or whatever it might be.
Well, it's
Given the cruise, I guess, to have it, because it's just such a possible. You know what's a bad example? Phoenix. It's a bad example
Yeah.
because it's completely flat and it
except-
has cells everywhere.
Yes.
And every time you turn on your phone, you have amazing service.
Huh.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
It's very fast. You could run computers off of it. You could use that as your. But if you live in any kind of rural area, then you're at this mercy of this lingering cell. Hopefully, you're like right under the antenna, because you could be 100 miles away from it trying to use it.
I have friends who live at the base of Camelback, and they have a terrible time.
Well, another thing that's very, very common when you're using cell technology, you can be too close to it.
Yeah.
It can, that omnidirectional isn't necessarily true. You could be right within the cone it can't touch.
And sometimes it's worse when you're next
Right.
to the cell phone
Yeah, absolutely.
tower.
So, but what I would say is make sure, I would eliminate the computer being the problem first off. And I would
Okay,
just
just go
install
with the
Google
phone.
Meet on your phone and try and participate that way. And if that's still giving you problems, then you probably would have to go find someplace that has better internet.
Starbucks. Okay.
Yes.
Starbucks, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Good morning, Bill. You're wearing my hat, or I'm wearing your hat.
Oh, this is a little different than your hat.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's an Amazon hat.
An Amazon hat.
Yeah,
Not one made by my mom.
yeah, I know. I'm jealous every time I see one.
She should make one for all of us.
Yeah, that's
Your mom
right.
made that?
Yeah, all my hats
Cool.
my mom made.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah, ever since I started losing my hair and been being vain about it, my mom's been making me caps.
I don't know why that bothers men. It doesn't, women don't. Ooh, he's bald.
I got a wig, not a cap.
Hello? Did
The
somebody
women-
say
the
something
women
there?
don't care.
Right.
Yeah,
Care about
okay.
being bald.
Right.
themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, the thing I always like to say, I strive to be somebody that doesn't care. Right? I mean, I really want to be the person that will lose their hair with dignity, but I'm always struggling with myself because I'm so vain about it.
What do your daughters say?
Well, they don't care.
They
Nobody
don't
cares.
care,
They don't care.
I'm just their
Yeah.
goofy looking dad.
Well, I didn't look too good without hair after chemo, so
Yeah.
How long did it take to come back?
it's a good question. Of course, right away you start getting these little things.
Oh, good.
That's where my mom is right now. She's
Yeah.
got just this kind of buzz cut
Yeah,
now.
at least
Yeah.
6 months to a year, I think.
Oh, and it starts immediately then, right after you stop.
But it's been 12 years. I can't remember.
I would
You blocked
imagine.
it out.
I would
Yeah,
imagine you
I'm
have
sure
to
I
let
did.
that flush out of your system because
Yeah, 'cause
it's
it
directly
has it, yeah.
related to why you've lost hair.
And then after radiation, I don't know if that affects it.
I don't
Anyway.
think radiation does,
It
but I'm not
shouldn't, but-
certainly an expert or anything.
Well,
So
your
we're-
mom's in style.
We're pivoting the computer club to the health club. So far, we've had updates on Paul, my mom, and cancer in general.
And King Charles.
And King Charles,
Oh, not King Charles.
he had
Oh,
cancer,
prostate,
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Back to work.
and what's her name? Kate. What's
yeah.
the?
Princess Kate.
Yeah, what's her last name? I forget what.
That's
Boy, I
good.
pay no attention to the royals, but apparently there was a big
Middleton.
to do.
Middleton.
Middleton.
That's
Middleton,
her
that's
maiden
right.
name.
Yeah. So she there was a big to do on the internet because she had disappeared for many
Right.
months. She was having cancer treatments at the same time that King Charles was. And then released a photo. You guys saw all that to-do, these
How
Photoshop
could you miss
photos. And what it really should remind us is just how our culture has become one where we are bored with everything, looking for the meaning inside everything else. Here's this poor woman getting over cancer, appeasing her interest in Photoshop, and everybody's got it as a conspiracy theory.
Oh, I remember that.
It's like she just likes Photoshop, guys. What's wrong with that? She was a
The one I like.
Good morning, Judy's
So
with us.
I
Hi.
never got the second part of the documents. Oh, I'll be back.
Who's a J?
Yeah, we must be having bandwidth problems in here. The second email, the one from this morning or last night. I don't know. I've had a lot of stuff going on in the last 2 weeks.
Yada.
I turned around and there was just a pile of this stuff not getting done, a pile of that stuff not getting done. I'm just happy we're going to start getting back on track pretty soon here. If you don't know what I'm referring to, my mother-in-law's special friend of 12 years just passed away. And he was adopted into my Mexican family, and he is family. He's grandfather to my children. He's the grandfather they know, other than my parents. And so it's been a tough
That's
2
tough.
weeks. Yeah.
It is tough.
Well, and there's just so many things. It's just whenever that happens, there's just so many things that have to happen.
So anyway, I never got the second email that tells, how to open and all that stuff. I only got the possible documents. And then that wouldn't open because somebody has edited that document. I believe it was Paul and moved things around so you can't open it.
Oh, I lost the link.
Yes. You see that, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
If I click on it, it came up Paul Gregory.
I'm imagining it was a mistake. I don't think Paul's working against you.
I don't think so. But I actually had to type it in.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Stone Age is your
And I couldn't even copy and paste it. I had to type it in.
Well, you know, you actually in a perfect world should be able to just click on it.
Well, I could, but it's all it's all screwed up.
And that's why we like having Judy with us.
So anyway, I just read an article about what's the big hang up at the border. I don't know if any of you are aware of it.
No, tell us border news. That's more important than tech news.
Well, when we go to Carla, that's almost to 21, where the road winds off and you can go to downtown or you go up to Mariposa. So she was in an accident there by a shuttle driver from Gonzales Shuttle who ran into her and then proceeded to break her key off in the ignition, throw her luggage out. Oh, it was
what?
Yeah. It went on for a while. It took her from I think she left about 7:30, 8 o'clock out of Loma Del Mar, and she didn't get to Green Valley until 5:30 that evening.
Wow.
Then
people were pulling into the
oncoming
traffic to get around those trucks.
When I came down on Thursday.
And then on Thursday, my friend, I don't know if,
hold on, was that a confrontation that she had?
pretty much he proceeded to throw her luggage out of her car.
Out of her own car?
Yeah.
Why?
Broke the key off. He then got behind her and started ramming her bumper with his van.
This is after he's hit her.
Yes. And so this was a real mess, obviously.
I mean, that almost sounds like somebody making it difficult to be chased, right?
Road
like
rage. Well,
slowing her down.
Well, she couldn't go anywhere because of all the trucks. I don't know what he was doing, but while he was reaching in the car, he actually hit her in the mouth with his elbow, so she was bleeding.
Oh,
I mean, it was just a real
it's a horrible story.
So then on Wednesday, another couple from the park went out, and they couldn't get through either to go up to Mariposa, so they turned off, and not knowing they were towing a truck and couldn't get through. A Mexican guy got in the truck with them and showed them how to get out of there to go up, to Colosio and go that way. Then, okay, the story continues. Then on Thursday, Carla and Lisa left here about 6:45. They were stuck for over 5 hours by near 21 with all the trucks backed up. And they didn't get to their house in Tucson until 7:30 at night.
Man,
So,
the part that I'm not enjoying about your story is that
You gotta go up.
well, not
Yeah.
only do I have to go up, I
I'm
can't
leaving
get downtown
Thursday.
if it's blocked up all the way to 21. You're still in that line,
You're still-
regardless of which
now,
crossing
so-
you're going to.
hold on a second. So anyway, I'm leaving Thursday, but hold on. So, and
FYI, I fixed the link, Judy.
oh, good.
I would recommend
So I
Sunday.
found an article on the Imparcial, and it's from Friday, and it says, an intermittent fail of the system, the national platform in the Nogales 3 border port, has prevented dozens of carriers from promptly entering the neighboring country. Regarding this problem, the president of Index Nogales said that unfortunately, it has a strong impact due to the large amount of transport that circulates across the border. They blah, 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 blah. We could say that we are suffocated by the amount of delayed exports. We've been having problems for 2 continuous days, first at the American customs, then at Mexican customs, and now with the blockade that came this morning, which was Thursday, although it has already been released. So supposedly
What
it's
blockade?
It's,
When you
truck-
read that, I guess what that means is
The
they've
truck
already
blockade.
resolved the problem. They have like a compression wave of problems that they're dealing with.
well, and if you look at the Google Maps, it shows all the dark red that's still kind of there. It's not as bad as it was. He pointed out that there's good disposition from the authorities, and they've increased the schedule to help in the mobilization and crossing of the tractors. I suppose that means trucks. So,
What made it difficult when I came down on Thursday was
mhm.
the people going up.
Yeah,
Trucks were getting in the auto lanes
I know.
and just
Yeah.
holding everybody up. And you'd see this small little overloaded car with surrounded by semis. I mean, it was bad. It was backed up to the Mariposa toll thing.
Well, so it was a real mess, and I've been like kind of in a real quandary. So my plan is if I can, I'm going to get off at the Centro exit and then kind of wind around there through Colosio.
Yeah, I want to make this kind of a computer topic. I've been going up often enough that I've learned to trust Google.
Mm-hmm.
I have not trusted Google and spent 5 hours at Mariposa.
I know.
Learned to follow the blue line. I had one of my experiences. I fought it. I kept all prior experiences. I'd head towards Mariposa. It would reroute me. And I'm like, okay, we're doing this. This other time, I fought it and I kept trying to take me downtown. Every turn I made, it wanted to take me downtown. I finally
Right.
gave up and I said, okay, I'm going downtown. It took me less than an hour to get across the border.
Don't you have
So, do you use
do not.
Google Maps
Yeah.
to do this?
Say that again?
I said apps to do
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, Google Maps will do this.
Okay.
Is it uses real-time data analysis to
Right.
determine what your fastest route is.
Yeah, it doesn't show anything.
But what do you type in? Do you type in Phoenix?
Oh yeah, you just have a destination that you're going to.
Right,
Right. So
Or
your
Nogales,
destination could be the
Arizona.
other side of
Yeah.
Nogales, like Nogales, Arizona.
right. Well, I'm
And you-
going to Green Valley, so, you know,
Or Green Valley, yeah.
yeah.
And so
Really
you,
suggest Sunday.
And why is that?
It's much better on Sunday.
They don't allow trucks across.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
trucks.
And
The
then-
problem with some of us, we have appointments that we can't miss because this has never been a problem. Thursdays is always a good day to go out. However, last week was horrible, so we'll see how it is day after tomorrow.
yeah, I typically travel up on Sundays, and
Mhm.
I've had some horrible. My 5 hour experience was a Sunday,
Yeah,
but then I've also gotten caught up in holiday traffic
Do you
too.
go late in the day?
No, I could get up there by the early afternoon, but
right.
yeah,
I leave at dawn. So no, really.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm there by 11 in the morning.
Well, I have to close up my house, so it kind of depends on how fast I can get through closing my house for the summer. So,
when it doesn't matter what good intentions I have, I'm
I
never
know.
typically not leaving San Carlos until 10 o'clock. It's
Oh,
I can
no,
say we're leaving at 8.
Family to-
It
I
just
leave
doesn't
at 8.
Yeah, I know. By the time we pack up, do you take your dogs with you?
No,
What do
those
you
are
think?
range those dogs.
8 is my
We
target.
purposely have them as on-property dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, somebody has to feed them.
Well, my mother-in-law lives right around the corner.
Okay.
She comes over and checks on them.
Okay.
They're family.
So right
The
now,
dogs
Nogales,
and my mother-in-law.
Mariposa is showing 75 minutes.
Right. And that's better because it wasn't showing anything yesterday and the day before. It was blacked out.
Yeah.
There was nothing showing.
Well, and this might affect your Thursday trip, but I doubt it'll affect my trip. I'm not going for another 2 weeks.
Oh, no, I think it'll be fine.
You know, I really feel for the truckers. And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
Sure.
no facilities.
Gee, I don't because why are they blocking the car lane?
You know, caramel corn and candy.
Well, because they're bringing and sending stuff for us to use here. So,
Yeah, well,
No, it's going the other way.
produce.
Yeah, I know. But they
Well,
have to
it's
come this
it's
way, too.
anything going north, right? It's NAFTA.
Yeah.
It's NAFTA, and actually, if anything, what it points out is how fragile again our infrastructure is. That
Exactly.
we have systematic failure and not have some backup contingency.
And why are there only 5 car lanes open?
When there's 13?
Yes.
I have actually I've gone up regularly enough now. I have rolled up and seen every lane open. I'm like, what's this all about?
Yeah.
Pulled right up, went right through. I'm like, what's going on? This is crazy town here. It took me 20 minutes to get across the border.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Have you ever been in that line and thought, oh my God, I hope I don't run out of gas?
No, I always make sure we fill up
Please,
before.
God, please.
But the one time after we first got the Cadillac, old car, it was overheating and it had 2 dogs in the back.
Oh,
and
no.
freaking out.
I've been in that line in an overheating car before. That is stressful.
Yeah, it is.
And after my 5-hour experience, I got in the habit of stopping, filling up for gas, using the bathroom, making sure I had snacks, a good audiobook. I'm committed. Yeah,
No,
Bill, did you want to talk about computer topics?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I was just saying we have 3 rules when we're coming up to the border. 1 is you stop for gas. 2 is you stop at the same time for tea break. And 3, you have water and food in the car.
exactly.
That's the
Food,
3
drink.
rules.
What was the second one? I'm sorry, you broke up.
A pee break.
Oh, a pee break.
But even that's probably number 1.
Yeah.
But if
But I
you're
can-
in line for 6 hours, a pee break an hour before you get stuck doesn't help a lot.
Doesn't help me.
Well,
They
it saves
launch a
one-
protest at the border where just everybody's getting out and peeing on the side of the road.
They're missing revenue here. A couple of porta potties with it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. A sign with baños for 5 pesos.
Oh, dear.
Hey, I
Money
paid 50 pesos.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You get into some of those circumstances on like it isn't really too
No.
high a price at this
Exactly.
I got stuck
I
in a
had no trouble
snowstorm.
going up
and I
about 2 weeks ago, and I went up.
Actually, it was the extra.
It was fine.
Well, what do we got for tech topics? I only brought a couple of things with me.
I have a Stephen Colbert joke.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yes.
do that.
All right. He was talking about
Do that. That's much more
the
interesting.
Trump Bible. Well, it was on the YouTube.
Yeah, there you go.
He said he can't wait to get it. He wants to see the centerfold.
The Trump Bible. You can't
Yeah.
wait.
Did you see that $60 Bible is bound in faux leather?
Yeah.
That is intentionally intended. They found documents. It's intentionally colored to Trump's skin.
Oh,
No.
oh, yeah. Oh, it was
Oh,
right.
it's right. Fortunately, you have your Bible and your Constitution and the Bill of Rights all
Yeah.
mixed together in it. So you don't have to go fumbling for each of these documents when you're trying to debate your family and
Separation of church and
friends.
state.
And he also just got fined for contempt of court, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the judge is
Good.
threatening to
That's-
put him in jail.
That's the most
Oh, good.
believable part of everything we just said. I mean, if someone was going to call bullshit, it definitely wouldn't be on that. It'd be on the things I just said.
What's the name of the governor of Florida?
DeSantis.
DeSantis, yeah.
He was raging on and on. He was running. He had a false tan. He was all orange. I said, "What about Trump?"
Oh, yeah. We're helping his campaign.
Well, he's orange. That ain't natural. Isn't natural.
Well, who was it that the sitting at breakfast told us he smells bad?
Yeah.
His fir-
Well,
body.
apparently
Raced him,
he's
yeah.
Trump does?
he had several recently in his trial as well.
What was it?
Yeah.
Gobert was saying, farting himself awake.
Yes. President Toot, I think he called
Okay. Tech. What are we talking about with tech?
We never got any receipt, any
For what?
income tax things
Oh.
from the new
Someone's got their hand up. Bill's got his hand up.
But we're headed out. We're back to medical issues. I'm going for a lung function test.
Oh,
So
Oh.
Wow.
in
Okay.
the snow.
in the snow, I got to go out and sweep the car off.
really?
What a beautiful spring.
Yeah. Well, they do
Canada.
need moisture here. We've been under a total fire ban right now. Anyway, we'll see you maybe next week.
Next week, we'll do another in-person meeting here. It's the following week that I'll probably be driving on and have to cancel that.
Okay. All right.
Temp up there.
Good luck.
See you later.
Temperature.
Did you hear that, Bill? Oh, they took off faster than we could get it.
If he's got snow, why?
Use your app, Ray. It's Computer Club.
I was going to do some drawing.
There's an app for that. All right, I'm gonna mention this article that my buddy Sid, you guys know Sid, pointed out to me. I was caught off guard that this would be news. Actually, this is news, but the idea that people wouldn't know this would be news. What? Probably because. I'm sorry. Somebody out there sneeze.
I don't know what they did.
I don't know, maybe up in the studio, I think.
Well, so, and actually maybe people aren't thinking about this because we don't have a lot of Android TVs out there. We don't think of Android TVs as being Google based. They run on Android, which you think of as belonging to Google. But for the longest time, and this has been a grievance of mine, is that when you use one of these streaming boxes, one of these knockoff Chinese streaming boxes, and you install Netflix on it, whatever, most people assign it to their Google account. It's a Google-based, if you want to install software in it, you're getting it from the Play Store. You're getting it out of your Google. None of that should seem like a big deal, except Google has not thought about this until now. And what that meant was they said simply for consumption, for entertainment's sake. When you set one of those up, you've actually authorized that box all over your Google account. And that's what this article is pointing out and making you aware that Google is starting to change the way they do this.
Does it apply to a Fire Stick?
Well, it could in a very limited way as far as Google's concerned, but it absolutely applies in terms of Amazon.
Oh, crap.
Right? That when you use a Fire Stick, you are authorizing it with your Amazon. I mean, this is what you can, you could conceive this from that. If this is true, then that's potentially true. That when you, and I've seen this too, is like you install Google Photos and it's ready to go because, or I'm sorry, let me try that again. You install Amazon Photos on your Fire Stick and it's ready to go because your Amazon Fire Stick is already signed into your Amazon account. So when you install the Amazon app Photos, it's good to go. And that's really the issue that this article is pointing out with Google TV. Google TV is becoming a thing. It was going to be a thing and just fell apart. It's becoming a thing again. In fact, am I listening to myself? I don't know. Okay. Well, it's going to become a thing again. Google has started licensing Android TV in TV sets. Set-top boxes are going to be Android TV boxes. They're going to be Google TV boxes. And so they're finally working on this problem of making a separate level of permission simply for these kinds of devices. Now, the other thing that's important to think about when you're thinking about these things, this is not only a problem for your unsecured TV box, like your TV box is sitting in your living room. What they demonstrate is that if it's already authorized, then you could go to the store or sideload an email program, the Gmail program, and all of a sudden I'm sorry, I'm bleeding through somebody's speakers.
Yeah, the sound is really bad. I can barely understand what you're saying.
I'm going to mute Paul here. Let me know if it doesn't get better. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. That is better. Good. I'm just double checking we're all using the right microphones. So what he demonstrates in his video is he takes a set-top box, like a BG box or a BQ box, one of these Chinese streaming boxes you can get real cheap on Amazon, authorizes it to Google using his Google account, and then sideloads. This is the whatever nefarious way of getting in a piece of software. Now, you could get it from the Google Play Store, but I think what he was trying to prove, if you get it through the Google Play Store, there's a very good chance that you're going to have to do a secondary authentication. And I really think that's what he was trying to show off, is you could have that app right on a card or a USB stick, stick it in that computer, install the email program from Google, and Google won't ask you for authentication. It'll just go into your email right there on the TV set. He's demonstrating this, and though you could think, well, that's in my living room, somebody would have to come into my house and do that, and then there'd have to be some value in them doing that to me. What is important to take away from this is people don't think about removing that stuff when they get rid of this equipment. So you up your TV set and you, whichever, maybe still logged into Google, right? Or you change out Fire Sticks and you don't bother to wipe out the other Fire Stick, right? Maybe you hand it off
Like
to a
factory
cousin or a
reset.
friend, like a factory reset. And so what you've inadvertently done is you've left permissions in that device. Anybody that comes across that device instantly starts out with that kind of level of permissions. Now, the flip side with Google, why it's so much more outrageous with Google than it is Amazon, is you don't rely on Amazon for your email or your communications. And most people don't rely on Amazon for document storage, or even the photos example is kind of a bad one because a lot of people aren't aware of what a good storage mechanism is for photos. Whereas Google is known for all your TV, somebody could be behaving like you, changing your bank password, right? Getting secondary authentication on your Apple account, things just from this box. Now, I started out by saying you should have already known about this. This has been a problem for a long time with Android streaming boxes. But like I said, they're not very popular.
Well, I didn't even know there were Android streaming
Right.
boxes.
Yeah, most people don't. If you've ever talked with Linda Gerber about her,
Roku?
well, the IPTV stuff she helps people with, getting them into these channels. The most recent versions of those Dreamcast devices are Android based, and you don't have to sign in. You don't. It's very nuanced how to use a device like that without being connected to Google. The problem is most people just do. Most people don't go through the hoops of trying not to participate. And until Google fixes this problem, and they're working on it right now, it would be, and I've known a lot of people that do this, they just have a fictitious Google account for these things. Much harder thing to do with Amazon. You can't, right? Like Amazon, and Amazon's got a bad reputation for this kind of stuff. We're fortunate we don't rely on them for email and communication, because you can bet they'd be dealing with this issue as well. As big a problem. They just don't. We just don't rely on them for email. So it's less of a security threat. It's actually a very interesting, it's exactly the same technical threat, but the amount of concern is much higher in a Google world than it is in Amazon world.
Could you, if you wanted to?
Amazon could provide email services.
Because my Kindle has me.
But your Kindle has an email address outside of Amazon. It's a Google account.
I don't know.
Or it's a Yahoo
account.
account. But it's not an Amazon account. I mean, we don't use Amazon for email. If we did, this would be a much bigger deal for Amazon. And that's the point I'm getting at, is it's because they use these umbrella accounts for Google for all there was a time where if you wanted to use Gmail, you had to sign up for a Gmail account. And if you wanted to use Yahoo, or what am I saying? YouTube, you had to sign up for a YouTube account. And if you needed to use Google Docs, you had to sign up so you had to go through those motions for every property that they had. And it could be the same account. That was one of the first things. Would you like to sign in with your Google account? But this is where they have wrapped that security over all of these properties. So when you have a Google account, you instantly have all these accounts. And that makes sense in a world before you start adding it to your TV set. And then all of a sudden it's obvious we need TV set level of authentication that doesn't allow it to span off into email, photos, communication. And so that's what this article is about. They're finally getting their shit together.
I often have to do an authentication code if for some reason it disconnects me from one of my accounts on Roku, like Paramount.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the secondary authentication. So I think the bank is the best example, because if you need help with your bank account, they're going to deal with your email account and they're going to deal with you on the phone. And between your email account and a phone call, they can be you. It's hard. Hopefully other banks, I know my bank has passwords, like vocal passwords, so that they can identify in that manner. They identify phone numbers, but still the bank, the thing that security experts are starting to really try and make clear to people is we've tied everything to these email accounts, and most people don't take their emails seriously because it's full of crap. Right? I mean, it's just my email. It's like, yeah, but your email gets you into your bank, gets you into your credit card, gets you into your Netflix service, gets you into your Amazon. I mean, that's right.
Yeah. Well, a lot of my user IDs are not my email address anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You've
I'm
changed
doing the
those to something.
well, I started off with new ones with not using my email address
Oh,
to log
okay.
on. But
Well-
that brings up a good point.
Yeah, I mean, every account that you might conceive of typically has an email account associated with it.
Right.
And many of these services, it's a necessity that it's an email. They won't allow you to use a username. So I can imagine you're still having to use an email address somewhere.
Yeah.
for
like
something.
I forgot my password. But
You-
I've often called and said I'm Nick.
Right? Yeah.
To get access to stuff. Because we need to speak to your husband.
All right,
I
dumb
don't-
question.
Yeah.
What happens if when it says, "Are you a human?" and you say no? I've often wanted to try
Well,
that.
try it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, have you noticed how all that has changed to a checkbox now?
Yeah.
So saying no is just not checking the box,
Right.
but actually saying no is checking the box very productively.
Oh.
That's how the checkbox works now.
Okay.
Is that they have learned, it's probably AI that has taught them this, but they've learned 15 minutes. Is that what you're going to tell me, Judy, or do you want to add to this conversation?
I've found lately you have to slide a piece of a puzzle and fit it in. As are you a human thing?
Yeah, and so this is using the same that's using exactly the same concept. Has less to do with the activity and more to do with the way the activity gets done. And through I think it's through AI, they've analyzed the way that humans motion with a mouse versus the way a computer motions with a mouse.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And the mouse motion of a computer cannot emulate the mouse motion, the hesitation and anxiety and the itchy trigger fingers of humans.
And then you get the next screen. How many of these
Right.
images have a motorcycle or a bus in it?
Exactly.
Which
Right.
one maybe has a little bit like
Yes.
I make
So-
the screen bigger so I can see it.
So I think that there was at one time they were using that to help train AI because they want visual clues. They're saying that's what all those captchas were about is that's a motorcycle, that's a motorcycle, that's a street light, that's a street light, that's a street light. After hundreds of thousands of that, the computer knows what a street light is, and that's what they've been collecting that data for.
Oh.
But what they're using that for still is, again, the way you answer it, not what you answer. I mean, of course, they know
So
you're.
it knows if my mouse hesitates?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
That's the way it works. To be even more specific, it knows you cannot be as precise as the computer is. So any imperfection is indicating you're a human.
Do you ever try to hit one of those little circles?
Yeah. I had to count the pots once. And it was a wastebasket. Now, does that qualify as a pot or does
Yeah. I haven't had that one.
You will. It's out there.
Well, there's a decent video here of the Android TV security PSA, as he calls it. For me, it was it's not new news. The new news is that it's not going to be a problem in the future. And this is what good hackers do: is they point out these kind of vulnerabilities so that they get fixed. And so he's just bringing as much attention to these problems so that Google will do something about it. He just happens to be doing it at the same time they are doing something about it. There's a video. You don't have to read all this. There's a lot of Ars Technica stuff in here, but there's a video.
I want to use Gemini to concisely
Yeah,
say what it is.
I don't have a prompt to this week. What else? The only other thing that I've got comes from the California governor's website, which is very interesting to find out that in California now, there is an electrical charging station for every 5 gas
Yeah,
stations.
that's interesting.
Oh, wow.
That's a wild number.
And you know, Elba's has charging stations.
Do they?
Yeah,
What
they
does?
have Elba, the restaurant in Santa Ana, they have
Yeah.
4 or
Oh.
5 Teslas and then another 5 different generic ones.
This is exciting. I really feel like this is the move Mexico has to make. They've lost the opportunity with their natural resources, with petroleum. There was a big grift they got against the people. But this thing that AMLO's come up with, being solar, just the plants that they're putting into, I think that overnight we're going to see just a network of charging stations across this country, and all of a sudden Mexicans can just buy electric cars.
Yeah.
Right? And it would just
There have been
suck.
such changes in the last 30 years down there. It's amazing. The quality of the vehicles.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you looked? There are great videos on YouTube of the electric cars they sell in China, and these are crazy cars, beautiful cars, reasonable prices, independent suspensions.
do you know, though, when I was in Hong Kong or in Shanghai, they were talking about the waiting list for cars, and it goes by drawings. So you could be on a waiting list for 15 years, and every year, you know, they draw 3,000 names, and if you don't make it, you don't get. So
My
It's
first
not
thought
all-
was a drawing.
That's
yeah,
really
oh,
interesting.
no. A physical,
Well, from an artist.
it's, you know, it's televised. And,
You get a lottery to buy a car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Well,
Funny.
here, yeah, I think I'm aware of at least 3 electric car brands
Mhm.
that are brought into Mexico to be sold right now. That just exist right
China?
here. I assume they're Chinese cars.
What about the batteries?
What do you mean?
Where are they manufactured?
Oh, you quickly caught me off guard. I don't have any of
Well,
that kind of
you
stuff
should
in my
know
brain
everything.
right now.
But they're really heavy. Try going over a pothole with an electric
Well,
car.
Well, the cars aren't heavy. The
Well,
battery might
Well,
be.
they're in the car.
Yeah, but relatively
Good point.
speaking, I mean, they're heavier than a tank of gasoline, but altogether they're still lighter than a regular
How
car.
much does
No,
it?
they're-
If
that's
you
The
what
electric
I've heard.
cars?
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
heard they're heavier.
No,
And the
they're
roads are being degraded because they're heavier.
now that's a good question for Google. I never even considered that would be a concern.
I have read that as well. And
Yeah.
The
tires,
you go through
Tires,
tires more quickly.
yep. Yep.
Are
Well,
hold on, I'm gonna see what Google says. Are EVs harder on roads than traditional? Are we all agreement? This is the question.
Sure.
Traditional car.
Gasoline powered.
Whoa. What's your traditional car?
Gasoline powered.
Yeah. Yes, electric vehicles can be harder on roads than traditional cars because they're heavier. I would never have guessed they were heavier.
what does it cost to?
On average, 312 kilograms heavier than a gas.
Ooh, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, that's huge. It's like it can weigh as much to 30% more.
Yeah.
I've never heard that in any of this
You
discussion.
learn something.
Yeah, I love coming to the computer club. I learn new stuff all the
It's
time.
about 700 pounds. That is a chunk.
Google is saying now this is actually this is a summary from Gemini. So this is our prompt for this for this computer club. This is our AI prompt. I wonder if Copilot would give us a different answer. But it is right at the beginning of the Google search results. It's an AI overview explaining that EVs can cause 20 to 40% more road wear than internal combustion engines. And I can't believe this isn't one of the topic points that is being brought up right now.
But it is, Scott. You're just not
what
hearing
does it
it.
cost to charge an EV? I'm assuming they go by kilowatts.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they charge money.
Well,
That's a
Brutal.
And can you make it from Elba to San Carlos?
Yes, exactly.
Without recharging.
I'm doing.
I think they're so focused on what they perceive as the benefits of electric cars that they aren't even bothering to mention all these detrimental things like
Like the cost of the batteries?
the cost of the battery, the disposal of the battery, the tires that are getting worn down so much quicker, the roads. All that should factor in, and the cost to make electricity to charge these vehicles.
We need solar power.
Yeah.
We need a skin on the top of the roof to
Mhm.
charge
Yeah.
the battery.
You know, they did show one off
Yale
at
came up with
CES
one of
that
those.
would go
Yeah.
like 50 miles without having to be plugged in any.
Done with that.
Yeah.
I can't even get to Denver from my house in 50 miles.
Well, yeah, but I could do today's jobs that I have to run around in 50 miles.
But you have
And
to
that's without plugging the car in. That's just sitting outside, moving from spot to spot, going to the
Back
grocery
to my
store and back.
original question, how much less expensive is it to
Okay.
on a day-to-day basis to drive it than a gasoline-powered vehicle?
There is, let's see, from NerdWallet. Charging an
God,
EV
I'm
at
going
home is usually
downhill.
cheaper than a public charger.
Yeah.
Slow
Takes
chargers
longer.
are cheaper than faster ones. For example, in California, level 2 charging costs 30 cents a kilowatt. DC fast charging costs 30 cents a kilowatt.
How can
And
that
how many
transfer into
kilowatts do you
miles?
need?
I'm trying to
per-
figure it out. Hold on. At these rates, a Nissan Leaf with a 40 kilowatt battery would cost $12 to fully charge using a level 2 charger and $16 using a DC fast charger.
And how far would that get you?
Charging an EV with a 200-mile range and a fully depleted 54 kilowatt battery can cost $6 to fully charge if the electric costs are 10.7 cents a kilowatt.
That is quite a bit less expensive.
Yeah. Well, and you actually, I mean, if you think about EVs not as the long road trip, but as the short trips around,
Yeah, scoot around.
then it makes a whole lot more sense.
But Albuquerque's 85 miles away.
You've
Doesn't
probably
help you.
you've probably heard me say my fantasy EV for San Carlos is a golf cart with a Honda portable motor in the passenger seat. Just, well, what's it outside? It's like, oh, it's just charging my EV. It's my hybrid. Well, that's it, guys. Those are the topics I've brought for today's meeting. I am at a loss for other topics at the moment. The floor is open to anybody that has a smart ass remark about technology. Make it funny.
You want me to leave?
And we've got 4 minutes until this call ends. We are how many minutes into this? I guess we are an hour into this, aren't we?
So I will say goodbye, and I may be on the call next week. I may not.
Okay. Very
Depends
good.
on how Colorado's going.
Have a
Okay.
good trip, Judy.
Thank you.
Tell us about the crossing.
Yeah.
I saw an interview about the new cars collect data on how you drive,
Oh, I hate
Oh, they
that.
do.
Oh, yeah.
Even the older ones do.
and they sell it to your insurance company.
Uh-huh.
That's absolutely
If
been
you have an
going on,
accident,
and
they tell them
and it stopped immediately after we found out. Like if you, yeah, the as far as the car companies are concerned, they immediately changed their policy. I don't know if
Good.
it's true or not, but that's what they told the press, is
Oh.
that they will not be doing that any longer.
Well, my son-in-law.
Do you know
said
why?
In the late 90s, that started.
Yeah.
And they knew if your
Really?
seatbelt was on, they knew if you were speeding or what
Yes.
speed you were
Well,
going at. Yeah.
In the late 90s, what they would do is they would look in the computer and find out what happened during that accident. That was in there. And they're playing off
My
Wi-Fi.
insurance went up this year.
That's exactly why your insurance went up this year. Yes, that is that is what you're talking about.
But some
Is that
insurance companies will say your premium will be less if you install this device so we can track how you drive.
That is, you are a participant in that, and
Yeah.
is absolutely ethical from my point of view.
Yeah, but I
If you
won't
want to
do it.
come to me and say I'll cut your insurance in half, or I'll at least give you a discount based on how good a driver you are, and you're proving that by putting this dongle in your car and letting us track your behavior, that's a whole different deal than I bought a Ford and 6 months later my insurance rates went up and I don't know why. And the reason is because that car has been watching to see if you brake hard, whether you wear your seatbelt, whether you accelerate quickly, and then those are all getting fed into a data collection that Ford is selling to insurance companies, because that's their business now, just like your TV sets, right? Like you can buy an 80-inch TV set now for under $1,000, and the reason is because they're not selling you a TV; they're selling you to their other customers. They're all that watching behavior and surfing behavior and all that.
I
Is what
picture this 20-year-old watching my feet while I'm watching television. You know, occasionally munching on something.
I don't know what we're going to do about the TVs, but when the United States found out, it was like overnight, they found out this was going on, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Then these car companies have come out immediately and said, this is not going to be a practice we're going to continue. So I don't know what that's going to look like in the future. I can't imagine they can put a literal hard stop to it, because they've got contracts, right?
Yeah.
They've Well, they have had a little like black box for cars for a while now, just like they do for planes. What? Well, the one that I'm talking about that you would electively put in your car. That and all these things now, I mean, the modern versions of these all connect to wireless devices, real-time collection. Well, or you can't Wi-Fi your car. I feel like I should open the next meeting because it just closed, in case Paul wants a goodbye.
You were fun, Paul.
No, don't take that wrong.
Who cares? I don't think we're
The different kind of box.
Well, for 2000s.
Yeah, according to my, it was 97 or 8. Said, gonna have to slow down.
Has anybody left?
Pointed the
There's Scott.
cars ago.
I'm trying to get back online. Paul's with us, but my system isn't working right because of this. We found out this morning I couldn't have two logins in the same meet. I had to use a different meat. My different
Scott, is anybody
meat working.
attached to this meeting?
Second turned into a challenge. Go button.
Scott.
I'd prefer not to have any of them.
Hello, Scott.
Hey, sorry about that. It took me a moment to get back online here.
Scott was at my house helping with something, and he keeps going.
I do it all the
forget
time.
to use it.
I long over passionately one of these new MacBooks. I know that I could do all of this with one of those. I would not have to have all these different computers going. This is all, everything in front of me represents a computer old enough that it's not Windows 11 compatible. And
Except you've got girls coming up to college age. You better be good.
well, regardless, but the point I was going to make is the thing that stops me from doing the upgrade, because I'm finally in a position where I can afford it and I need to do the upgrade. You can't touch the screen. And it's become such an important thing in my world to be able to reach out and touch the screen that it's the one thing stopping me from making that. I mean, I'm going to pay over $1,200 for a laptop and I can't touch the
Well, I've got
screen.
your fingerprints now.
Good point.
You do.
I didn't think of that till now.
Well, that's another issue. Maybe your fingerprints are no longer safe.
Well, now this is a philosophical discussion because a lot of security experts would tell you that your fingerprints are not a pass. They're a username because they're all over everything. And so it's been bad form to use your fingerprints for security because you can't change them. You're stuck with it.
Yeah.
Right? So like somebody gets like one of
You're
the
feeding back.
I am. I think Paul's speakers are feeding me back through. I'm going to just mute him a bit. There you go. Paul. Sorry, Paul. Oh, it didn't work. Try that again. Yes, you cannot change your fingerprints. You cannot share your fingerprints. I mean, not intentionally. You can do it inadvertently, but I can't give my wife my fingerprints to get into my phone. Right?
Just cut your finger off.
Right? And
Apparently,
so,
they know if it's dead.
well, they
Are disconnected.
it's actually part of the technology is they're supposed to look for heat. They're supposed to look for pulse.
I'll do it quick.
Yeah, some of it is very sophisticated, and some of it has been compromised by an electric sausage with a fingerprint that's been put on it.
Oh.
They were able to compromise the
Jimmy Dean.
fingerprint. Yeah. They just one of those Venetian wieners with heat it up in the microwave. You wrap the fingerprint around it. But so with that in mind, the model that they should really be following with fingerprints is they should have you use your fingerprint and then ask you for something, right? So the fingerprint identifies who you are, and then you have to identify that you've got authentication. So maybe a message goes to your phone and you have to press the right number to secondary authenticate. Or maybe your phone in itself, this is actually something that's going on right now, be authenticated. So a computer sees that my phone's around, I use my fingerprint, it allows me in because my phone is with me. Yeah, I wonder, people talk about the fingerprint being your username, but your face you think is also a username. So how is that authentication, and what should we do about that? Because one of the latest hacks that's been going around, one of the compromises is a malware that is able to get into Android phones for a while now, but has recently made its way into iPhones under specific circumstances. And it is able to compromise the facial recognition data.
Oh.
It's able to take that data and present it to your device as though it's you. This makes me nervous because I use my face all the time to get into my phone. And I also use my phone to check my bank account and to make purchases on Amazon. Now, if something could remotely take advantage of my device and start making purchases or bank transfers, now they can authorize them because they can just hand it my face data, which they got out of the same device,
Wow.
right?
Yeah, I tried that. It didn't work too well with my face.
Well, and what it represents, I mean, like the face, the fingerprint, these things should be used, but they need to
And
be,
voice.
and voice, all these biometric things definitely should be used to identify who you are, but they should not be reliant on authenticating you. Who you are should matter, but what you know should matter even more. And so you verify who you are, and then you verify what you know, and that's where the security comes in. Not quite there yet, though. I have an authenticator app that I've been using for work from Microsoft, which seems very cool.
I seem to have 3 authenticator apps because there are different
That's
logins that use a different one.
that's probably the biggest frustration with authenticator apps right now, is that you can go to a service that doesn't support the authenticator you use. And so it seems like a good idea. What happens is you go to sign in to one of the services that supports it, and it says go to your authenticator app and type in the number that's sent to you. And I had one experience last month where I couldn't open the authenticator app. Quite literally could not get in. There was no other way to get authenticated on this system. And very quickly I found out that my authenticator version was behind. There was a new version. As soon as I updated to the new version, I had access to the app. But it left me like panicked and anxious about this approach. And mine is not the only story about Microsoft Authenticator doing this to somebody. Apparently, it has a history of doing this. They have something, and I wonder if they do it on purpose to force an update because they found some kind of security issue with what they were doing. They patch it, and then they force you to update by not allowing it to be used until you do. The problem might come from, though, if you reliantly put the authenticator app on your app store. If that makes sense to you, if you need to authenticate to update the authenticator.
Okay.
If you follow, like, there's no way to do that. If you need to update you almost have to get a completely different device. No, you still need the authenticator. You're still stuck needing the authenticator.
Wow.
It's yeah.
This has simplified your life, you know, made things easier. Look at what we can accomplish.
Well, it would have been a lot better if we could go back 50 years and concentrate on security and privacy first before making all of this technology that we've done. We would have gone down a better path. Now it's all plugging holes and a ship that leaks.
I guess I don't need this one. LastPass had an authenticator, and I don't use LastPass anymore.
Don't use LastPass.
No, I don't.
What is disturbed with math skills. It's always computer search skills. None of that is being taught anymore.
Yeah, I don't think is any of that intentional. I come from a family of teachers. None of that's intentional.
Not by the teachers.
Yeah. I mean, they would love for the kids to be learning that stuff, but you can only do so much with so much.
Well, I'm a teacher, and I think it's better to understand the basics
I
that
do
support it rather
Yeah.
than to memorize the multiplication tables.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like how do you figure it out if you don't know?
absolutely. I actually have always took that approach to computer topics. I've never felt like it's very valuable to learn how to use Outlook. It's much more valuable to learn how to use email and then wrap those concepts around whatever email you're looking at. You're not dependent on iPhone email or Windows 10 email or Macintosh email. You just understand sending and receiving and forwarding and addressing. You've got those concepts. So you're not wrote into this button over here does this thing. It's when you can't figure it out, you're like, well, I'm looking for an address book. So where would I find that?
I have a question.
Yes, Paul.
Is anybody interested in hearing the movie titles that I saw on the ship?
Absolutely. Are you going to read them off to us, or are you going to? How many did you get to watch?
20.
20. Well, Paul will be reading us out of this meeting with his rendition of the movie list.
Send us an email.
What's your top 3?
Okay, number 1, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That's a wonderful movie. Have you guys seen that?
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Number 2,
Well cast.
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit.
And then Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah. Oh, that's a guy thing.
Oh, I loved it. Did you? Me and Jets are.
Yeah.
Take me up so I can throw up all over.
What was number 4?
Top Gun.
Mermaid in Paris.
Really?
Mermaid.
Mermaid in Paris. I haven't even heard of that.
Me either.
And Dear Elizabeth.
My kid's going to Paris. I don't know. Have I shared that with anybody?
No.
Yeah, we just found out she's doing her
Wonderful.
foreign exchange in
nice.
Paris. 16-year-old. She'll turn 17 over there.
Okay. So she's a junior or senior?
Junior, but from what we've been told, she'll have to repeat the year because she's doing this.
It's worth it.
Worth every
Yeah.
every bit of. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you know?
We'll be hosting a foreign exchange student ourselves.
That's wonderful.
Actually, two.
French.
It looks like Denmark. It's a Mexican Rotary that has put it together. And so what we know at this point is that there are 4 students coming to replace our students, and 2 of them are from France, 1 is from Taiwan, and the other one is from Denmark.
Only the French is the romance language. It'd be easy. The other kids of language.
Well,
Very
you know,
difficult.
after being with these kids, because part of this is getting to know the program through the kids that are already doing it. So there's this group of kids that are in my kids' school with them right now, and so they're intermingling and sharing the experiences they're having being here in Wymus. I get a kick out of this guy, really nice kid. He's from Taiwan and he just loves Wymus. He loves the fishing. He loves the food. He's just like,
enthusiastic.
yeah.
That's great.
He's just had a great time. We've got another kid in town from Hungary, and he's not having quite as. He's got a lot of culture shock. He's not a seafood eater. I mean, if you can imagine.
Well, Hungary is
Inland, yeah.
Yeah.
He was telling me the other night is like, right. So you have to go so far to get to an ocean. Most of our fish is freshwater fish, and I don't really
Well,
care.
it's not a demonstrative culture either. It's very cool and aloof, and people are just different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Poor kid.
But so it'll be very interesting. I often wonder how people are going to feel coming to Wymus to go to school from the places they come from. And one of the moms in this group that we're going through is looking at the background information of her first student she's going to be taking care of. He's coming from France, and she looks at pictures of the house. She's like, this guy lives in a castle, and he's coming to my house.
Oh boy. But you know, some of those castles are not what they seem to be either.
Yeah, they
They're
probably
small.
leak. They don't have,
They're
they don't.
small.
Yeah,
And they don't have the amenities like heat.
right. Running water.
flush
I don't think
toilets.
you would say that if you saw this property. You're like, why is he coming to Wymus? That's what you would say.
That'd
The
be good
cultural
for 'em.
experience.
Okay, after A Mermaid in Paris was Dear Elizabeth.
What was it?
Dear Elizabeth.
Yeah. Do I remember anything about these movies? Nothing.
Well, then I'm going to stop writing them on the recommendations list. You need to send us your list in email so I can put it up.
Well, I'll just read them off here. Fisherman's Friends, Gulliver's Travels, Horrible Bosses,
Oh, that's a fun one.
Kissing Jessica Stein, Language Lessons, Blues Brothers,
Another good one.
Second Best Exotic, Marigold Hotel,
Oh, that's
Oh,
a
that was a
great
great-
movie.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
and Jackie Robinson.
I don't think I've seen that. Huh, I
Oh,
should add
yes,
that
it
to my
was.
watch list.
As It Was, Autonomy, and Notre Dame on Fire, and Dogu, Dogu. That's it.
Dagu.
I think that was a good one. Notre Dame on Fire was interesting.
Say that one again, Paul. I'm not hearing it right.
Notre Dame on Fire.
Oh, Notre Dame on Fire. Is that a documentary?
Yes, it is.
I think I saw it. I'm going to write that one down.
What did start that fire?
On Fire.
I don't remember.
I don't either.
Carelessness. No, I don't know.
All right,
Jackie
what-
Robinson was good.
Obviously, problems with fire prevention started that fire.
Ask a nerd?
I don't know. I hate to keep reminding people, but engineers solve problems. Politicians talk about them.
Or creating. Well, I just finished reading Cathedral by Nelson DeMille,
Cathedral.
and they had the Irish dissidents took over St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of details I can follow because they were talking about the different naves and places. in the
Everything my
cathedral.
in-laws held against me. North Irish here.
DeVille? Is that Ernest DeVille?
DeMille.
DeMille.
Nelson DeMille. Nelson DeMille? Yeah, I think
Nelson.
Nelson. Cathedral. That would be an interesting story.
And these were called Fenians, Fenians.
Oh, yeah, these people, Fenians?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that time
Neither
period.
am
I am not good with history. I hate to say that, but it's true. I lose track of it. I don't pay too much attention to it. I have to go back when I want to make a reference in the present time to something in the past. I have to review it because I didn't collect it or hang on to it or care
YouTube
about it
has
at
some
the time.
wonderful history
Yes.
things to type in absolute history and they'll bring up hundreds of things to watch.
You
And
know,
they're-
that's
they're
been
good.
one of Chester's recommendations all the time. He loves the history stuff off of YouTube.
And the nature stuff too.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think we're going to call it a day. We'll be back next Tuesday. I hope you ladies will join me again next Tuesday. I hate to sit here by myself.
Deanne and I.
That's right. Just the three. Christine, will you be here next week? Was that what you were saying?
I probably.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
you think so? Even
great.
with the everything that's
Yeah,
going on.
unless
yeah.
we leave Sunday, I don't know. We don't have to. Oh, DEA seeks to reclassify marijuana and allow prescriptions for the first time.
Did you see where Oregon is reevaluating their
Yes.
stance on? Yeah, that's.
They had an increase in deaths and problems.
Yeah, it's I feel like we're living in this moment where everybody's pushing the envelope to the extremes to see what breaks. And now we're starting to watch kind of
Politically
this.
too.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's my metaphor. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely all aspects.
Okay.
We are pushing them out, watching them break, and then having to deal with the breakage. And it's forcing us to set up rules that we've never had before, because before we had this kind of cultural standard, this kind of this baseline that we were all and we've had that challenged so much in the last, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years. It's wild. I mean, just having president the way we have, and what's considered okay and appropriate to say in an election, and I
Just
would,
every day, what
Yeah.
you can say and can't say.
right, yeah, and with the drugs thing, it's like it's amazing to see them declassify marijuana. It's questionable to watch them do it with every scheduled drug, and then to watch the fallout go, oh wait, maybe that wasn't such a good idea.
Yeah.
It's like this is the way we're learning as a culture what these boundaries should be.
And then sue the drug companies for overdoses. I'm going to legalize it.
Or overpricing.
Overpricing, yeah, that's a problem.
Or putting them in jail. Purdue, they're still not up on any criminal charges. Part of
No.
their right, and they treated our culture like they were drug dealers. They were kingpins, and some of this stuff. I feel like that's why we've got Trump in front of us right now. Is you broke the law, and the people need to see you pay for breaking the law. We haven't seen it with any of these powerful people. He's financially, he's going to be held accountable because it's so blatant.
Well, look at the Supreme Court too, and what's his face? I can't.
Clarence
Yeah,
Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas.
Such
who was
blatant
questionable
stuff.
before he was even put on the court.
I was
Before
surprised
any
he
big deal.
survived
Yeah.
the sex scandal stuff.
Yeah.
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 Right? How was that even possible? How do I live in a culture where we hear this story from this accredited person and it just doesn't matter? He's still
Because
on the
he's from
Supreme
a
Court.
generation of men that tolerated that and encouraged it.
But
The-
then he takes
was
all
part-
these trips and somebody pays for it. I mean,
In the motorhomes and the
yeah.
And the wife.
Oh,
Ginny.
I don't know. Jeannie,
Oh my
she's
gosh.
worse than him.
Right, right.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even want to know who she was, and then when it's like, stop making me aware of who you are. I don't-
it's dirty. You just want to.
Well, and if I don't know, I don't get more into it. I want to get more away from it, but
You can't.
You can't.
You cannot avoid it.
well, and the biggest problem is if we do that, then the only people that are mucking around in it are the bad people.
Yeah.
We can't hold our nose up and don't like the smell. It's like that's what democracy is being in the mud.
But see, for a period of time, I'm going to say normal people didn't participate.
Right.
They weren't active. And so that's when things got a little sketchy. And now we're having to re-participate
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I think you're right.
No.
Well, and there was a culture of a class of people that knew what they were voting for. They went back to work. They didn't
Yeah.
worry about it. They knew what they were voting for, and they just kept working. And when they lost jobs and they're looking around, all of a sudden and we haven't done a good job. We just both sides of it, both parties. The fact that we have sides, and we're doing a horrible job making a better world.
This seems to happen, this type of thing, not on a presidential basis, but on a
No.
societal basis.
On a
Every
local
60,
basis.
70, 80 years, we come around to this type of thing in society where it's them against us. What am I trying to say? Where it's more overt.
Well, you might be keying in on like why we had a Cold War,
Yeah.
right? Why we have a Middle East thing. I mean, there's a consensus that has to grow around your culture so that you're all on the same page, all moving in the same direction. You even hear them say it overtly. I was hoping it would be climate. I was hoping it would be
Look at
petroleum.
the 60s. And how
Right? Things on the Colombian
Yeah. Same thing.
they're
Same
protesting,
thing.
right? And we're listening to this, and I'm getting angry at I'm
At the
getting
kids.
No, I'm getting angry at NPR. They're like, just think about their futures. They're jeopardizing their positions. They're getting suspended and arrested. That's going to be on their record.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wait a second. This is a university.
Well, that's a good discussion to have with your kids.
Well, I did. I did. I'm like, it's a university. It's supposed to be safe ground, open discussion, freedom
Well,
of
also,
speech.
the-
This is a lesson to be taught, not to be managed. These administrators are embarrassed when they should be looking. And I told them about when we took over the administration building at my university. It's like they basically handed it to us. They kept dialogues open and communication. They wanted to see both sides win. That is not what we're seeing here.
Right.
And the amount of money that, I mean, their portfolios are huge. So maybe this little bit here goes to Gaza or Israel. And how do you divest yourself from that?
Well, I think that I mean, to get a little political at the end of Computer Club, I think that the fact that they have very specific terms that they're fighting for, we want you to stop supporting this genocide. It's like any connection between the university and what Israel's doing to Gaza is wrong, and we don't want to have any part in it. We pay to go to this school. This is our school. I think that's a very
that's very similar to the 60s. Get us out of Nam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So-
and maybe it was similar in the 60s just because of the mental into the people that
Where the
are
money
donating to the universities, not the students that are paying.
Mm.
They're not paying attention to the tuition people. They're paying attention to the people that are buying wings of the university.
Interesting.
And they find it embarrassing. These kids are out there on the and it's obviously an example of how you can't maintain your school. It's very much like the 60s. I think I agree
It
with
is.
you, Ray.
Yeah.
And
I think also the labor movements of the 1918, 1920 era. And when the unions were becoming stronger and stronger, it was the same kind of thing.
They forced the first black woman president, college president out of Harvard
Yeah.
for having an open mind.
Yep.
Right? for trying to create a safe space for people to have these discussions. That was wrong. And she
And the
finally had
elimination of child labor.
yeah,
It's the beginning of the 20th century, the 1900s.
Which is still going on.
Yeah.
yeah, well
With
actually
immigrants.
well,
with
and
migrants.
we've actually had legislation proposed making it possible to drop the age of labor so that we could put children in charge of things like cleaning their classroom. It's just
Which they would do out of courtesy if the teacher said, wouldn't it be nice if someone would sweep it?
no, that would be teaching them a lesson. This is just capitalizing on extra labor. Keep it straight.
But they were using 7-year and 8-year-old kids in mines,
Yeah.
Well,
14-hour days.
Now you sound
Are
like
in
the
the
opposition.
compost
It's like, hey, we could have them mining. We're just talking about a little janitorial duty.
Just send the canary in
Sweep their
first.
floor.
Everything's relative.
Everything is cyclical too. It's very interesting.
Well, I have no place to go, but I'm leaving.
All right, Paul. We'll talk to you later. We're just having trouble shutting down the meeting.
Have you watched Tracker?
I have not.
It's gotten really better.
What is it?
Tracker with the guy from This Is Us.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
good. It's on CBS.
No, I've seen it there. I started it once. Is it Canadian? Is that what I'm thinking? Or
I don't know. It's from Jeffrey Deaver. He's one of the executive producers. He's a good man.
I'm going to go pay my bill.
Justin. He's his name.
Oh, yeah.
Have a good week.
Which
Yeah.
bill?
you too? Hope to
What
see you
bill?
guys
Oh,
next
that bill.
Tuesday, or I'll be sitting here by myself.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to go to the bank.
I'll see you down there.
And-
Wayne.
And that's
Have a
it.
good
That's
day.
all we've got. I am Scott Stimson with International Computer Solutions. If you are looking for solutions out there on the internet, you can get a hold of me, Scott at internationalcs.net. And this was the Computer Club, San Carlos Computer Club. We meet every Tuesday at 10, in person, online, as a virtual meeting. Everyone's welcome. Just get a hold of me if you are having trouble joining us. Until next Tuesday, tech on.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Ray.